Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. We're digging into a seriously provocative white paper by Sean Ennis, the CEO of Kinetic. It's bluntly titled, Your CRM Sucks. Ouch, right? But here's the wild part. It's actually not the software's fault. And, surprisingly, it's not your sales rep's fault either. We're going to break down this idea that your CRM is actively failing you because of a massive 30-year-old design flaw. It's a structural compromise we've all just kind of accepted. So if you're running a small to medium-sized B2B sales org, buckle up because we're about to totally rethink how your revenue engine runs. Okay, set the scene. It's the dreaded quarterly board meeting. Every sales leader knows this vibe all too well. The CEO turns to the CRO and drops the bomb. Why is the pipeline so wrong? Deals that were sitting pretty in commit have just magically vanished, the numbers are totally off, and then, right on cue, the CFO chimes in, demanding reliable data, casually admitting they've been running a shadow spreadsheet for months. I mean, think about the irony there. You're dropping tens of thousands on a slick, state-of-the-art CRM, and the CFO is trusting a rogue Excel file. The CRO's only defense, promising yet another data hygiene initiative. But let's be real, everyone in that room knows it's not going to stick.
So we really have to ask the core question here. Why is the pipeline so wrong? Now, the standard knee-jerk reaction in the industry is just to demand better data hygiene. Enforce the rules, make the reps clean it up. But here's the trap, and it's a big one. Demanding more data hygiene, it's actually just a slower-acting version of the disease itself. Every single hour a sales rep spends clicking around, cleaning up CRM data, is an hour they literally aren't selling. They aren't finding new ops, they aren't closing deals. You're actively stripping away their selling capacity to feed a beast of a system that's just going to be out of date again next week. To really get why this is happening, we've got to rewind all the way back to the 1990s. Believe it or not, the CRM was actually invented to solve a management problem, not a selling one. As these sales teams started to scale up, management desperately needed to know what 50 different reps were doing, which deals were actually real, and what got promised to clients. And the only tech available back then? A database. But a database needs someone to actually type in the data, right? There was absolutely no automated capture tech in the 90s. So humans became the execution layer. Just let that sink in for a second. The industry took its most expensive, revenue-generating employees and essentially forced them to become part-time data entry clerks, just because no other tech existed yet.
And wow, look at the sheer scale of the productivity loss today. This is data from Forrester, tracking over 3,000 sales reps across different industries, and the numbers are just shocking. The average rep spends 60% of their week, 60%, on non-selling administrative work. That leaves a measly 40% for actual selling time. Your reps are losing almost 2 full days every single week just to admin tasks. And you know what? 3 decades of software iterations haven't fixed this, because it's not a bug. This data entry tax is a hard structural reality, built right into the DNA of any human-fed CRM. Let's put some hard dollars to that lost time, shall we? Take a pretty conservative, fully loaded cost of, say, $150,000 a year for an experienced B2B seller. If 40% of what you pay them goes toward admin instead of selling, that's 60 grand per rep per year, just gone. Poof. So for a growing SMB with a 25 rep team, you're burning through roughly $1.5 million a year in payroll just for record keeping. That is budget you are already spending right now, today, but it's buying typing instead of revenue. Which brings us to a really crucial light bulb moment. Bad data isn't a discipline problem, not at all. It's a completely rational response to unpaid labor. I mean, put yourself in the seller's shoes for a minute. Every single field a rep fills in is essentially unpaid labor that pays them back absolutely nothing. It doesn't help them close their deal, it just helps management build a pretty dashboard. So when a rep is sweating over quota pressure, they're always, and honestly correctly, going to choose prepping for that customer call over updating a drop-down menu. When you multiply that entirely rational choice across your whole team over an entire quarter, your CRM inevitably turns into a data graveyard. Now, naturally, leaders try to fix this. We've all seen it. But look at the standard playbook. It's just a list of failed fixes. You add more mandatory fields. The reps just enter dummy data or placeholders just to get past the form. You tie their commission to CRM hygiene. Well, congrats, you're now paying your absolute best closers to be resentful data clerks. Maybe you hire a sales ops team to police the system. Now you're paying a salary professional to chase down reps based on what the reps vaguely remember from 3 days ago. All these fixes do is shuffle the data entry tax around. None of them solve the actual root problem, which is relying on humans to be the execution layer.
And that tees up a massive paradigm shift. We really need to break the CRM down into 3 distinct jobs. First, you have the system of record that holds the truth. Then you have the system of intelligence that tells you what to do next. And finally, you have the execution layer. This is the system that does the grunt work, the mechanical stuff, capturing call notes, enriching contacts, moving deal stages, logging the outcomes. The grand realization as we head into 2026 is that this execution layer, it simply doesn't need to be human anymore. That constraint from the 1990s is officially dead. Just look at the stark contrast when you compare human-fed tasks side by side with autonomous execution. On the manual side, activity logging relies on a busy rep typing from memory. But on the autonomous side, it's captured straight from the calls, emails, and calendars in real time as it happens. Deal stages advance based on actual conversational evidence, not just when someone finally remembers to log in and update the status. This is exactly what Kinetic is doing with their AI-native platform, Kforce. They're using autonomous agents, like Sage for sales ops and pipeline intelligence, and Aria for marketing content, to handle all this heavy lifting automatically. It's an absolute game changer. And this new dynamic kicks off something Sean Ennis calls the accuracy loop. When data capture becomes automatic, accuracy isn't some behavior you have to constantly police anymore. It just becomes a natural feature of the system. First off, automatic capture stops data rot dead in its tracks. Second, because the data is fresh, you get genuinely trustworthy intelligence. And third, because that intelligence is actually right for once, the reps trust it, they act on it, and that action generates even more accurate signals. It's like a flywheel. It just spins on its own, rather than a boulder you have to keep shoving up a hill. The system naturally stays current, and you never have to nag your reps again. So what does this actually buy you in the real world? Well, for starters, it totally cures the pain of that nightmare board meeting we talked about earlier. You suddenly get continuous visibility into renewals and budgets across your whole book of business. You get cold deal flags alerting you on a Tuesday morning, way before that super awkward Friday forecast call. Plus, you can finally coach your reps based on reality, instead of whatever self-reported fiction they put in the system. It shifts you to evidence-based forecasting, rather than just pulling the room to see who's feeling optimistic. And the best part? Unified board conversations where the CFO and the CRO are staring at the exact same trustworthy numbers. It turns your pipeline from a guessing game into a legitimate strategic asset. Now, I know exactly what some CROs out there are thinking. If an AI writes the record, how can I trust it? Won't my reps just check out entirely? It's a totally fair objection. But the paper nails the counter-argument here. It's called human-in-the-loop execution, and it separates the labor from the judgment. The AI handles the mechanical labor, drafting the record based on actual call transcripts and evidence. But the rep? They supply the judgment by just confirming or tweaking it in a matter of seconds. Like the quote says, accountability was never about the typing. It's about whether the record is true. This model actually sharpens accountability because managers finally have actual concrete evidence to manage against. And the industry data completely backs this up. Check out this stat from Gartner's 2026 research. Sales orgs that empower their sellers with AI-driven next best actions are 2.6 times more likely to achieve commercial growth. 2.6 times. I mean, that is a massive competitive advantage. We are shifting fast from intuition-based guessing to hardcore data-driven decision-making. And the winners in this space, they aren't going to be the companies with the strictest data entry police. The winners are going to be the ones who eliminate the need for data entry policies altogether. All right, if there is one single takeaway you grab from this explainer today, make it this. If your reps are burning 2 days a week on admin, or your CFO is still clutching their shadow forecast spreadsheet, another hygiene initiative is not going to save you. You absolutely have to stop paying humans to feed a database. It's time to rip the execution layer out of their job description entirely. Let your humans do the two things that humans are uniquely, beautifully qualified for: applying complex judgment and building real relationships. If any of what we've unpacked today sounds painfully familiar on your sales floor, you owe it to yourself to dig into this. Kinetic is out there building exactly this kind of autonomous alternative for B2B sales teams. You should really start the conversation and see what getting all those selling hours back could mean for your bottom line. You can easily book a quick zero-prep 15-minute chat directly at cal.com/Sean-Ennis, or just shoot an email over to sean@kinetic-tricks.ai. I'll leave you with this one thought. In a year where all your competitors are automating their execution layer, can your SMB really afford to keep paying 6 figures for part-time data entry clerks? Thanks so much for joining me today, and here's to finally getting your pipeline back on track.